Hello friends, it's day 3 of staying consistent in the midst of chaos, and today was a great day. Right now is 6:49 p.m. and my working day is almost completely over, which is earlier than usual and especially satisfying because both high quality work, high intensity work, and being done earlier than usual. I can hardly ask for a better day. There are 3 things that I want to share with you today when it comes to staying consistent. First one is why I'm so excited. Hopefully, at least part of this energy is transmitted through the screen. Why I'm excited because yesterday was a shitty day, pardon my language. If you saw the video, and side note, apologies for the bad audio in yesterday's video. I wasn't aware that this microphone, even though it's supposed to be, the best one, the DJI, DJI, when I put it down here, I guess the quality isn't the best, and I don't know, maybe it's the way that I'm holding it, or maybe there are some settings that I should change, but I haven't looked into it. So anyways, sorry for the bad quality in the audio quality in the previous video. But if you did watch the video, if you did listen, you heard me say that it was a shitty day, and I felt kind of down, but I knew that it was a matter of continuing to show up. And sometimes you have to continue showing up for weeks before you're back on the horse in terms of feeling, quality, intensity of work, enthusiasm for work, and just that sense that you are doing good work. You know that it's meaningful, but is it good the way that you are doing it? So this time I only needed to wait one night to go back, to be back on the horse, to be back, to regain the momentum, although the psychological momentum of keeping the streak is always there. So the lesson is, unfortunately, or maybe fortunately, the simple wisdom of just keep showing up. Sometimes you have to keep showing up, and the payoff in the improvement is already there tomorrow. Sometimes it's in a couple of days, sometimes in a couple of weeks. But today words were just flowing out of me. I'm so excited, and I know that people who engage in creative work or any kind of project can understand this feeling when, especially writing, you can understand when words are flowing out of you. So it was extremely enjoyable, which kind of leads me to if I want to give you more context on how and why it was enjoyable, that leads me to the second point. I want to talk about structure and transitions inside the routine. So I woke up, went on a 20-minute walk, and started my working day. First writing block was around 60 minutes, but always extended for another 10 minutes if I'm feeling well. 60-70 minutes of writing the curriculum for the existential bootcamp that I'm creating. And I said in yesterday's video how interesting it is to brainstorm the structure of the structure and the order of information, order of lessons, so that it genuinely does create momentum rather than just teaching people. Because we know in school that the way that lessons are structured isn't always with the human on the other side in mind. It's with a system in mind. So interesting working on the structure and the order of information. Words were just flowing and extremely enjoyable. Here is interesting part. Was I able to continue to write for another 60 minutes? Maybe, probably. This time probably. But I'm learning to stop myself and to respect the time block that I've decided on previously. Because I've spent years giving myself the freedom to write as much as I can. So maybe that would be the advice for the overly structured person. Give yourself the freedom to write as much as you can. But for the person whose tendencies are mostly towards creativity and free expression, Yes, maybe you could have written more. Maybe in this case, maybe I could have written more. Maybe you can write more. But maybe for you and for me, the bigger payoff is in training ourselves to respect our time blocks. That doesn't mean that you will become a robot who lives by the clock. I never want to become that. But I also don't want to be a chaotic artist, which, you know what chaotic artist translates into? It translates into an unaccomplished artist. It translates into wasted potential. And then you want to tell me, oh, but there are all of these eccentric creators. Those are exceptions to the rule. We have accepted this romanticized idea that creative people have no structure. It's just not true. I've lived the structureless life, and I've lived the structured life. I will never advocate for rigid structure. I will never advocate for sacrificing meaning, fulfillment, joy, the experience of being alive, sacrificing all of those things for the sake of respecting my calendar. No. But no structure equals also no fulfillment, no joy, no accomplishment, no forward movement. So I respected the time block, took a 10-minute break, and let me be completely honest what I did in this 10-minute break. 6 minutes out of that 10-minute break was doom scrolling. And I can say that proudly, because I allowed myself. This is the transitions. I said structure and transitions. I said to myself, okay, all that it matters is to respect the time of the transition. So I'm giving myself 10 minutes for anything before I jump into the next writing block. Anything, just as long as I respect the time, the time block of the transition. 10 minutes, 6 minutes was, is it doom scrolling if it's 6 minutes? I don't know, but it wasn't anything educational. It wasn't meditation. I didn't engage in deep breathing exercise. I was checking largely irrelevant online content. But the content itself didn't feel amazing, but it felt amazing to allow myself to do something for a short period of time and then get back to being productive and engaging in constructive activities. So I went back and was writing the first draft of the essay that you decided on my Instagram stories, writing the outline, what will be an essay, and also a YouTube video on, Jungian explanation for why you're struggling to get out of bed. This is an idea that I'm extremely excited about, an idea that's been brewing on my mind for a while now. And let me put it like this: why you're struggling to get out of bed, Jungian explanation, or we could also say that the title or the selling point, quote unquote, could be why getting out of bed is an act of heroism. Sounds like a ridiculous statement, but it is very real. So that's why I'm so excited about it. And maybe some of you will be interested to know that I also mention within that same topic, I'll mention why getting back to your ex is such a strong urge. It can be very closely connected to the urge to not get out of bed in the morning. The urge to get back to your ex that you know is not good for you, and maybe you don't even love them. So again, so exciting to write about it. This time I did extend the writing block from 60 minutes to somewhere close to 80 minutes, but still I didn't overshoot it way too much. 15-20 minutes over the original. So decent. I would say I respected the time block enough, because I definitely could have continued writing, but it's not as if I just stopped and the thing that I could have continued writing are lost on me. I gave an outline of what are all the other things that I will continue writing about and expanding on within that topic. So that's 2 writing blocks as fruitful as I can hope for. Not the absolute best writing blogs that I ever had, but if majority of my writing blogs were like this, I would, my life would be heaven. Just enjoyable. Yeah. Then there was, I don't know, maybe 10-15 minutes break to also check my messages, check the phone, take coffee, head to workout. This time it was like 30-40 minutes workout, so a bit longer, extremely enjoyable. Again, just while I have a lot of things on my plate, being able to do a 30-40 minutes workout is just, it's tremendous for me. So I'm hoping you are noticing some pattern here. It should be tremendous for you to do 5, 10, 15 minutes of physical exercise if you are genuinely busy. So the structure was as described after the workout, and I don't know if this is necessary to give the overview of my day in this many details, but still, or in this much detail, hopefully that's grammatically correct. But still, I do want to give you an overview of the structure. I respected the structure. I gave myself the freedom, again, to check my phone, to do some of that scrolling. When I finished the workout, I was preparing a quick meal, was listening to a podcast/lecture while preparing the meal, ate the meal, went for a short walk for digestion. I don't always do that, but when I can, that's also a privilege to be able to, after a meal, just go for a walk. And it does help with digestion. It does help with getting those steps in, right? Then I was back here for a one-on-one call with an amazing young man who is going to, I don't know how much I can share in this video, but who is going to definitely embark on a mission of changing people's lives through his writing. And I'm hoping to help with the structure and strategy. So I'm extremely excited that soon enough, in the space of genuinely caring for the human soul, caring for the existential questions, and caring for all of us living authentically, there will be another voice. And all of you who care about these things, you also should be another voice. I never consider myself as the prophet of the topics that I'm talking about, because I've realized that there are more of us than all of us are aware of who care about these things. So maybe kind of now I'm going on a tangent, but this tangent is more important than the entirety of this video. If you care about these things that I talk about, this video series is about consistency to help you, because you creative people need structure and consistency more than new ideas. But if you care about the existential, humanistic, philosophical, psychological things that I'm addressing in my writing, if you care about them, and you have an ounce of tendency to think about those things as you go through the day, not just passively consume, but you think about them as you go through your day, and want to try to write about them, you have to. So that's it. I finished that call and I'm recording the video. The call was supposed to be 60 minutes, but it ended up being 2.5 hours. But that's what happens when you get the chance to have meaningful conversations. So hopefully I'm providing somewhat of a contrast. I respected the structure, respected the transitions. But as I said previously, I will not be living by the clock. I will not be a robot. Maybe that means that I will never be the most efficient creator. But the fulfillment that I'm getting, it's hard to compete with that. The efficiency, I'm not sure. I want a level of efficiency in order to be the person who can distribute these things to you, I want a level of efficiency for that. But when I connect with someone and when I see that we are onto something, whether it's talking with a person over a coffee that I met randomly, or talking to someone online, doesn't matter what the goal of the conversation is. If we relate as human beings, and if we relate on our care for the human beings, for the human soul, then I will disregard my calendar and my schedule to the extent that I can, to the extent that there is not another person waiting. And I will not disrespect someone else by prolonging a meeting or a call, but just trying to paint the picture that there is a time and place for respecting the schedule. There is time and place for being more flexible. Today I experienced both, and I'm tremendously happy with both. So that was structure and transitions. I was able to flow through the day because of the structure. Last night I was clear. I need one writing block for the existential bootcamp. I need one writing block for the first draft of the new essay and YouTube video regarding Jungian perspective on getting out of bed. I will have a call in the something that I didn't mention. When I finished the call, I did some brief admin work in my community, and that's why I said my work is nearly over. Now I have the freedom to get out of my place, and for the first time in the last 3 days, get out of the place, not for a walk or not to buy food, but go out and allow myself to wander around. And I will take my phone. Over the phone, I can do some more admin work for my community. I can finish preparing the Instagram post. I've done serious writing, and I have, of course, more writing waiting for me. So today is an enjoyable day, light day. The reality is that when I say I'm going to go wander around, the reality is that I'm going to take a book with me, and I'm going to do some reading that is going to be closely related to what I'm writing about, is going to be closely related to my work. So, that can count as research. I'm not necessarily going to go out to party. And maybe I end up writing some more. So even though it seems maybe like a pretty relaxed day, and it was an enjoyable day, I do still I can admit that I do still struggle with completely switching off. That I have to admit. And today, what I can say, another thing regarding the structure. When the structure allows you, and also other conditions allow you to be really intense with the effort and produce this high quality, then I can have this day. What is this? Up to this point, it was like a 5-hour working day. So that's very, very short for me. Very short. My working days are usually 8, 9, 10 hours. Especially when I'm building something new. So I'm suspecting starting next week, and then the next week is going to be consistent 10-hour working days. But it matters. It's meaningful. I enjoy it. I chose it. I've chosen it. Excuse my grammar errors. Either way, that's the structure and the transitions. These transitions between working blocks, extremely important. Please, everyone listening, think about this. Think about the transitions between not just working blocks, because not all of you here, or most of you here, aren't how would you call it? Aren't working in this kind of environment, but are in office. But think of transitions between work and lunch and training and spending time with family. So all of those are some blocks of time that you're dedicating to something. Or, I mentioned some examples that are very typical. You can think of what are examples that are relevant for you. Blocks of time that you know are dedicated to something specific. How do these transitions between blocks of time look? Because I will tell you, one of the problems that one of the problems that are uniquely tied to our age is that these transitions are filled with and prolonged by screen time. Because imagine if I don't have a phone. I finish my work. The only thing that makes sense is to change my clothes and go work out, because that's the next thing that I want to do. But I live in the digital age. So when I finish my work, I'm recording with my phone, so I cannot hold it to demonstrate. In my hands, or in the reach of my hands when I finish my work, is the greatest entertainment device of all time, the 24/7 news channel, and so on and so forth. It becomes way more difficult to just finish work, change clothes, and go work out, because maybe there is something to be seen on the phone. Maybe something. So yeah, that's why we need to think about these transitions and approach them more consciously. And my suggestion is make a decision. Okay, I will allow myself 4, 5, 6 minutes screen time, and then I will continue with my day. Okay, we got out of the way the first point, which was accept the shitty days so that you can get to the good days. Just keep showing up. Very basic, but something that people need to be reminded of, and to accept that sometimes it takes a couple of weeks of shitty days to get to the good days. So stay consistent and patient. Second was the importance of structure and how it helps you, especially setting up the structure the day before. And you didn't hear me I think my structure didn't sound too rigid. It sounded like an outline. Nothing I think too dramatic. Structure and transitions. And the last point, let me try to remember. Sorry, I had to stop recording the video to check if I even mentioned what the third point was. And I wasn't able to find it in the video, although I thought that I shared 3 points that I will be talking about. But here is the third point that I believe I wanted to talk about. And because it's been on my mind, it's always somewhat, to some extent, it's always on my mind when discussing these topics, but today was a good example of it. And it's the point about routine, morning routine. And there is maybe one metaphorical hill that I'm willing to metaphorically die on. And that's the idea that there is no best routine, there is no perfect routine, and no one out there can tell you what is the best routine for you as a general statement. It's not just depending on the person, it's depending on the season of life. And sometimes not even season, maybe sometimes it's about a week of life. And what the best routine for you is that day, that week. What are you, if we want to use these terms, these productivity bro terms, what are you optimizing for? Are you optimizing for consistency? Are you optimizing for mental well-being? Are you optimizing for productivity? I'm not sure if I mentioned this in one of the recent videos, but there is the idea of getting out of bed, and in the first minute or two of getting out of bed, getting right to work. There are some scientific claims that helps get into the flow state more easily. I have tried it out. I've spent a decent period of time, a couple of years ago, getting out of bed and just sitting and starting to write. I can testify that it's beneficial for creative writing. It's also beneficial for more analytical tasks. So from the standpoint of creativity and from the standpoint of productivity, I felt how helpful it can be to just get up and go straight to straight to work, literally straight to work. Then, we have the Huberman routine that's kind of now widely accepted as the ultimate morning routine, getting outside, starting to move, although he's definitely not the first one to suggest morning walks, but getting some movement, especially forward movement. I will not go into the science, but there is science behind forward movement, and I've used forward movement as a self-regulation technique for anxiety and panic attacks. So I can testify that also matters. Forward movement has something to do with amygdala, but I would just be lying if I now try to act like an expert. So forward movement and getting the famous, Huberman advice of getting sun into the eyes. So there is that routine. Then there is the overly, how would you call it, over the top routines that take an hour. Then there are productivity bros who say if your morning routine is an hour and a half long, then it doesn't make sense. And not just productivity bros, don't want to make anyone feel like I'm calling them out. Just regular people kind of ridiculing the hour and a half morning routines. But actually none of the things that I mentioned is the best or bad or irrelevant, because it's the context of who you are and what your life is about right now. And I know that's easy to say, So it can be an intellectually lazy statement to say, oh, there is no best thing. It's all contextual. I understand how it can be intellectually lazy, but let's think about routines. I had a period of time where I was struggling with wanting to live. Do you think the best idea is to get out of bed and start working right away? I decided back then to optimize, if you want to look at it that way, to optimize my life and my morning routine for inner well-being, for life engagement, for getting back into life. Although these things sound abstract to some of you, they were very real to me. Improving my relationship with myself and my life. So my morning routine did last an hour and a half. It consisted of gratitude and walking and deep breathing and intention setting and looking back on my journey and setting intentions and looking at my vision. And it's one of the best decisions that I have ever made in my life. The decision of adopting that routine in that period of time. Then prior to that, I had periods of time of getting out of bed and getting straight to writing. After that, I had periods of getting out of bed, getting straight to writing. Today, and why all of this? Because today, I allowed myself to go for a 20-minute walk. Is that unproductive? I don't know. For me, it was extremely relevant, because even though it's a period in my life where I'm trying to get a lot of work done, and maybe one of these upcoming days I will get out of bed and get straight to work, overall, the priority of my life is well-being. Again, I know that will change. I know there will be periods of time where I'm even willing to sacrifice some mental well-being for the sake of effort and output, because it's meaningful effort and output. So I will be willing to make that sacrifice. But let's approach morning routines and all routines, let's approach them with intention. Let's approach them with some authentic thinking. Don't listen to me. Don't follow my routine. Take from it what's relevant to you right now. So maybe the only thing that you should take from me when it comes to routine is the question of, not the only, because I do have no, I do have things that I want to share with people, like now talking about gratitude and walking and looking back on your journey. For those of you who feel stuck in life, you cannot afford not to do those things. You cannot afford not to spend some time with yourself in a constructive manner. So many of you criminally underestimate your journey so far up to this point. And then you say, I have nothing to be proud of, I have nothing to be grateful for, there is nothing special about me or my journey. Ridiculous. Ridiculous. Outrageous. So yeah, I actually, you should hopefully listen to me on some things that I talk about when it comes to morning routine, but don't let me or anyone else impose structure on you. The first question should be, what is the priority of your life right now? I'm sure that a busy parent is watching this, and maybe they genuinely have to, okay, maybe they're working 9 to 5, but maybe they genuinely have to wake up and skip the morning walk, skip the sun in the eyes stuff, and just sit and work on their passion project that they generally cannot work on during the later hours. Maybe there is a parent or a young person out there who is struggling with money, and the priority of their life right now is making more money. And don't worry about it not being deep or profound or creative. If you are struggling, there is nothing more profound or deep or creative than you taking care of yourself. So maybe your perfect routine is to get up and get to work. Not creative work, not your passion project, but get to work that is going to make you money. And that doesn't mean if you're working at some kind of regular job, not even try to wake up a bit earlier to give yourself some proper self-care in terms of physical movement and some inner work. But I'm just saying that priorities are different for different people at different stages in life. So that's the message that I wanted to send. Today, my morning looked like I described, 20 minutes walking. And while walking also doing the gratitude, because I'm just saying to myself, repeating to myself the things that I'm grateful for. That's what I do. But this time it was 20 minutes. It was not an hour and a half like I used to do it. And let's see how it's going to look these days. That's interesting for me, because you will be able to see that maybe in a week's time it will be a matter of me waking up and getting straight to work, and again sacrificing some of that both enjoyment, and if it stays like that for long enough, then sacrificing also some mental well-being because of all the screen time and skipping that quiet time with myself. But sometimes it's worth it, and sometimes it's necessary. So that's it. If I can kind of summarize the 3 points, they were accepting the shitty days so that the good days can come. Sometimes they come quickly, sometimes it takes more time. Then structure and transitions. You need structure. It doesn't have to be overly rigid. I demonstrated in my day how I both respected the time blocks and went outside of the allocated time blocks for different activities. So not overly rigid structure, but some kind of structure. Transitions, pay attention to the transitions between different time blocks. It helps extremely. And lastly, there is no single best morning routine. There is no single best routine for any part of the day. There are things that all of us can benefit from, but it's a matter of how important and relevant are they to your life right now. That's all I had for today. I'm extremely satisfied, extremely excited for what is to come with the project that I'm creating and with the things that I'm writing that we will be putting out there in the next day or two. And overall, a great day. Feeling grateful for all of you, feeling blessed for what I get to do, and feeling hopeful that I get more and more people to talk about the things that they care about talking. Let their voice be heard, because I do believe that your voice matters. if you are a person who cares about certain things, and if you go through your day thinking about them, not just passively consuming ideas about those things, but thinking about them actively, you have to start expressing yourself. So let that be the final message. Express yourself, please. Thank you. Stay strong, love life, and never feel sorry for yourself.